Hello and welcome to the Learn How to See Better podcast, the only podcast out there known to actually improve your vision the longer you listen. This is your host, Drew Davis, and I'm glad you've joined me here today. I can't wait to share some great information with you about how to improve your health, wealth, and relationships. So let's get right down to it, shall we? Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Drew, and I want to welcome you all back to Learn How to See Better. And in today's podcast episode, I want to talk about animals. I want to talk about elephants. Specifically, how do you eat an elephant? The answer is one bite at a time. Now, of course, that might sound like a cheesy little riddle to most people hearing this, but that's the reality of the scenario, especially when you're talking about big, hairy, audacious goals. And philosophically, I'm a type of person that believes that your goals should stretch you. And if you're trying to steer clear of fear in a year and set some big goals for yourself that are going to help you, that are going to force you to grow if you actually put an effort behind trying to attain those goals, what you're going to see is you have to grow beyond the person that you are today and enable yourself to reach those goals. So typically that's going to seem pretty daunting, and the natural question is, oh my goodness, what do I have to do to achieve that? And how do I slay that dragon? How do I eat that elephant? And the answer really is one bite at a time, and that's kind of the theme that I'm really touching on today when you want to look at a year into the future, when you want to look a year out and say, okay, I want to be this drastically different person. I want to have different results in my personal life, whether it's with my relationships, my finances, my overall health, my career, my business aspirations, right? All of those things are going to force growth, and they're going to require growth for you to achieve those things. And so it's important to really look at big goals and start to understand that, really to wrap your head around them, you have to break them down. You have to break big things down into pieces. No different than when you consume when you go to a sporting event, you consume, a Super Bowl. You don't watch the whole game at once. You consume it in chunks of time. You got the first quarter, then there's a break. See what happened, what went down, then the second quarter, then there's a bigger break, right? You're at halftime. You get a chance to really assess things. Both sides can get coached up in the locker room, and then you come out for the second half. So you can put those adjustments that you made, that you took those observations out of the first half, you make the adjustments and you move into the second half with a new strategy, okay? So when you see how that works in sports, it makes sense to kind of apply the attitude and the mindset of a champion to goal achievement as well. You're gonna have to break this thing down into quarters and sizable chunks. I mean, typically things that are numbers based are really easy to do. Okay, I want to make, let's say it's $100,000 in a year or $100,000 in a month, right? You can break those down into different chunks. It's, typically 4 weeks in a month. It's typically 4 quarters in a year. So whether it's 100 grand in a year, or you want to lose 100 pounds in a year, or you want to meet 100 new people in the year, you can break that up into sizable numbers. And that's part of the secret, right? Because think about it. There's a natural cycle that we have to respect in all of this. There's Mother Nature, there's the changing of the seasons, there's us as humans and how we resonate with the seasons symbolically. So the same way there's a spring season, a summer season, an autumn season, and a winter season, there's going to be the seasons of life that we all go through, and the seasons that we go through with these goal achievements. The season where we're all gung-ho and gusto and full of zest and zeal. And then there's those other quarters where you're really struggling to pull through, and you need others to pour into you to keep you going and get you going so you can make it across the finish line. So when you understand that going into it, you're in a much better position to be able to say, hey, over the next 90 days, I'm really going to pour it on in this subset, in this small chunk of this overall bigger goal, so that I can get there, so I can feel like I'm arriving somewhere and making tangible progress toward that goal that I've set for myself. And that's wild, right? That's pretty crazy to think that, it's really that simple. We can break things down and just say, hey, if I don't run the whole mile, I just run this first 400 meters, I'm at least making progress, and I can take a break saying, all right, I've got this much progress towards my goal, so I can take a moment to celebrate that miniature win, that micro win, that mini victory that's going to help propel me forward and fuel me to want to keep pushing, right? So when you look at that, it's important to say, all right, how can I bite off a chunk of this elephant as far as a goal goes and really push hard towards that thing? And that's where you start to grasp these concepts of miniature goals or rocks or milestones or celebration points or win wires that you can say, hey, these are tangible points of victory that I can use as fuel to keep me going, especially when the times get rough. You've got this bag of wins. You've got this treasure chest of stories that have been something that you cultivated and that you've invested in to build out and make sure that you're getting and generating that momentum, because you really need the big mo to come through for you, especially sometimes when you're late in the year and you're really trying to make that final push towards the goal that you have set for yourself. So looking at your overall landscape on a 1 year perspective and saying, okay, how can I break this thing up into measurable chunks, right? And typically, again, goals that are numerical can be broken down much easier. If you're trying to gain X amount of Y or Z amount of double A, you can say, all right, I can count that. I can divide it by 4. If it's more of a momentum goal, more of a momentum-based goal, you could stagger it. Hey, I want 15% of my goal in the first quarter, and then 25% in the second quarter, and so on from there, so that you start to build up 35, 45, or however the math plays out. But that's another way that you can go and say, hey, if I break this down, if I'm hitting these milestones along the way, these are proof positive points that I am accelerating, that I am generating steam, that I am making progress. And we can use those measured details to fuel us, to be our own set of pom-poms and cheer us on, because the facts are the facts, and it's really about how we focus on those facts. So if we already have a positive energy channeling a good vibe towards the facts, then you want to have the right stats and the right facts set up for you. So I would definitely advise when you're looking at goal set and breaking things down into sizable things that you're doing, maybe 3, 4, 5 things every 90 days or so, in the key areas of your life that are going to help you make a difference. You can take a balanced approach and say, hey, one thing in each main area of life I'm going to push forward on the next 90 days to help me move towards the life of my dreams. Or maybe it's saying, hey, for the spring season, I'm all in on this. And you're going to break that up into saying, okay, to be able to do that, I'm going to take this particular area of my life and chop it up 5 different ways or half a dozen different ways, and say these different elements of that subset of my life are going to be the parts that I really hunker down, that I really bear down on. And that 90 days from now, you could probably see a difference in that area, right? If all of a sudden you put a dedicated focus to doing a whole bunch of, cardiovascular training, 90 days from now, you're going to be able to see a difference when you try and do some jumping jacks or go run a mile, right? But you can kind of chop it up in different ways depending on what your objectives are and what you have that you're focused on. But in any 90-day window, if you give enough focused energy and effort towards, you're going to be able to see a result. And that's the crazy part about it, is people think that it's got to take years and years of consistent applied effort. Yeah, when you're talking about the mega goals, but just to see a minuscule improvement. You do push-ups every day for 90 days, you're going to notice a difference in your upper body strength. You walk around the block, you read a chapter of a book every single day the next 90 days. You're going to pick up on some things. You're going to be sharper. You're going to have a different vocabulary. You're going to see the world through different eyes. So you don't want to underestimate the compound effect, even in shorter time frame windows, because if you can do a quick 90-day sprint towards something and then pause, recharge, and do a quick 90-day sprint again, imagine the impact that you can have 365 days from now. So that's how you're able to move the needle a little bit further and steer clear of fear in a year, because by then you've got momentum build up. You can kind of crash through those walls that you're inevitably going to hit along the way. But the idea of eating the elephant one bite at a time is really what's going to be essential in helping you to not say, oh, well, I was trying to go from 225 on the bench press to 315, And I expected that entire transformation to happen in the first 30, 60 days of the year. No, it doesn't work like that. It generally works based on the seasons. The seasons are the reasons that you're seeing the results. And you don't want to underestimate that. That's nature at play. And so we have to respect that, and we have to respect the passing of time and how we incorporate that into our measurement of success and failure. Because unfortunately, we can all fall into the trap of not giving ourselves enough runway to get the airplane off the ground. You're still building momentum, and you want to cut you want to cut your legs out from under you. And we want to give ourselves a fair and legitimate runway to get the steam built so that we can get the momentum built, get the ship off the ground. So I'm hoping that these simple tips can be something that's motivating you to take action towards some of the goals that you have set, and don't get hung up on the time frame of setting a specific series or set of goals right at the start of the year. Heck, I mean, you could be midway through the year and decide, you know what, I'm getting a message that hits me right at the right time. Or you might come across some information that really lights a fire under you and drives some inspiration. If that's the case, then go for it. Treat today as January 1st and start pushing forward from this moment right here, because you can still draw out a great one-year plan. I mean, I'd still suggest anybody go back and listen to a few episodes and see how you can really get a nice 10-year vision put together and break that down into shorter time frames that become more tangible for you and more attainable, and then you actually get a blueprint to how you can start inching towards those goals. And that's when you really start to see that life by design coming together, because you've organized the vision of your life, and it becomes so powerful. And it's breaking it down into those, breaking that big cobblestone or that big chunk of marble down into smaller, chunks that are more digestible, that are more manageable, that you can wrestle down and conquer in a short time frame, when you can go with those short bursts of energy that you'll be able to power through with. So again, I hope you find this valuable, as all of you that are out there looking to achieve your goals, and do so in a way that's going to give a little bit more repeatable design and results. Check these last few episodes out and see how that picture is painted, because this is all starting to come together, and hopefully someone out there is having an epiphany on how they might be able to take a different approach into starting to live the life of their dreams. Dream it up, write it down, break it down, and play it out. So until next time, thanks again, everyone. Be sure to share and subscribe as you see fit, and smash the like button. And I appreciate all your support. Thanks.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.